Hello, this is BlueStar, defender of Equestria, and this is my next SeaquestriaFest panel, The World of Maretime Bay 2024. Magic, mystery, and ponies. Yes, definitely since the last time I did this panel last year, things have changed quite a bit. So there's definitely a lot to talk about, so let's get on with it. Yes. And in some ways now that we have in some ways the full picture of what happened between Friends of His Magic and the new generation, it's time to talk about recent, quote-unquote, recent history, the fall and rise of Equestria. I feel like there's basically three basic time periods: the crisis, the separation, and the reunification. And now that we kind of have the full picture of kind of what happened, it basically was all Opaline's fault. Because the timeline is almost that after the series finale of Friends of His Magic / the continuation of Twilight's reign, may have been perhaps 20 years or so before everything was fine. Then Opaline was banished from Skyros because she was a bad pony. And then she attempts to steal all equestrian magic in the true supervillain way that she is, and apparently is sort of half defeated by the Maid Six. And all of this leads to what I call the crisis. Because obviously at the ending of Friends of His Magic, things were pretty good. All the ponies were friends, including the creatures in and around Equestria as well. So it had to have taken something pretty big to break that. And that was basically Opaline. Because yeah, I never really bought the story that one of the Make Your Mark episodes said that, oh, an Earth pony got hurt by a unicorn and it led to all this fighting and then all the ponies don't want to be friends anymore. It's like, it's happened before, it'll happen again. And in fact, Opaline might have even been that pony that caused that accident. Because this is totally the kind of thing that Opaline would want to do. Cause all the ponies to fight with each other and be divisive. She just really hates unity. So all these problems were really all because of Opaline, but the ponies never really knew it at the time. And all this led to the crystals being created, which I can only assume at that point that's when magic stops. Because I guess that was kind of the idea, that they take all the magic in Equestria, they put it into the three crystals, and fourth crystal as well, the Dragon Stone, and they go to their own little corners of Equestria and they just stay there. Which was the beginning of the separation. A sad but necessary day for Equestria, because if things had kept on going this way, it would have only resulted in total civil war between the three pony kinds, and that would have obviously been bad. But the good news is, there was a plan in all this, and that Twilight actually did have a plan, and that plan ensured that the spark of the magic of friendship will live on. And in fact, perhaps it was even part of the plan to split the crystals up this way, because the ponies don't want to be friends now, but if they want their magic back, they're going to have to come back together and be friends again. So, yeah, so if I could go back in time and tell myself and the community something at the beginning of like a new generation, it's like, I know things seem bad, but don't worry, there is a reason, they just haven't told us yet. Because eventually, after many, many, many moons, because the Friends of His Magic era is now considered ancient Equestria. It's like, wait, ancient? Did some pony just call me ancient? Now listen here, you young whippersnappers. I was out defending Equestria when your great-great-grandfather wasn't even around, so... That eventually leads to the reunification, where there is hope for us all. And it all started with a 6-year-old kid basically writing a note to some random pony she doesn't even know. It's like, hello Pegasi unicorns, you have friends in Maretime Bay. Please visit us. Just simply extending the hoof of friendship to a random pony that she doesn't even know. But that just shows that all it sometimes takes is a little spark of friendship to spark something so much bigger and greater. And through that, because if she had not done that, Izzy would never have come to Maretime Bay, and the events of a new generation would never have happened. Unfortunately, she did, and through that, the spark of the magic of friendship was passed on through ponies like Argyle to Sunny to the Main Six, and eventually to the whole of Equestria. So the magic, so despite everything, the magic of friendship lives on. thought it'd be covered in some ways recent history, and go through the locations of Maretime Bay and sort of the big developments that we've seen since the last time I did this panel. Like Bridalwood, a low-tech but lovely artist hideaway, because it feels like the unicorns are mostly creatives, the thinkers, and those sorts of things. So living in trees, not just like living in like the branches, but actually living in them, sort of almost one with nature in some ways. It sort of way suits them. And Zephyr Heights, a fancy fantasy world mixed with technology. And in some ways symbolizes this generation that, sure, we had to leave a lot of Generation 4 behind, but we didn't completely forget where we came from. It's like, look, there's still some fantasy elements here. It's a castle on the top of a mountain. You can't get much more fantasy than that. But even so, they have smartphones, there's giant big screens everywhere, technology, social media, which I think is good because to say things have changed a lot since Friendship is Magic started is a bit of an understatement. So to have all these things here enables those kinds of stories to be told to the newer audiences. And sort of the one big thing that happened in both of these locations is the Together trees. In Zephyr Heights, through the events of the Cutie Blossom Batch, the Basics actually grow a brand new one. And in Bridalwood, they actually discovered that the Wishing Tree, which was already this big important tree in Bridalwood, is actually a Together tree itself. And furthermore, that through Misty's magic brings back the Breezies and unlocks this Breezy night market that's been inside it all this time with all these magic artifacts that have been lost to ponykind for generations. So, interesting. And this was definitely very important in Make Your Mark, because this is where the locket came from that helped the ponies ultimately defeat Opaline. So I don't know if the Breezy Night Market is a one-off thing for Make Your Mark or who will be coming back here, but definitely interesting developments. And it also means that now all the three cities, Maretime Bay, Zephyr Heights, and Bridalwood now have the Together tree all linked together, so it's like, oh, there's symbolism as the ponies are coming back together in unity.
I have one question about the...
Already?
Yeah, so about the tree in Bridalwood.
Yes.
I wonder if it's like in G4 where the Breezies had that portal. Because they've never... None of the other ponies have even talked about Breezies before.
No.
So... And, well, of course they were locked in there for time. I'm guessing they don't have to eat.
I don't know. That's an interesting notion. I hadn't thought about that. Because, yeah, we have seen that the Breezies have almost like this portal magic that they live somewhere that you can only get through this portal. So maybe that could be part of it. So, interesting notion. Of course, Maretime Bay, a classic small town where every pony is welcome. Because New York ponies almost feel like they're almost like the everyday ponies. They live in basically a classic small town. They do basic, like, everyday kind of jobs. Hitch is a sheriff. Sonny runs a smoothie cart. There's a big factory on a hill in the middle of town that probably employed most of the ponies. And even the way that it's kind of, that Maretime Bay is set up is almost like a small town where it's like the town part is like shops, services, and all those sorts of things. And all the other ponies live outside of it, like Posey lives on the other side of this hill. Sonny lives in the lighthouse on the side of this cliff. So, in some ways, the biggest development that's happened in Maretime Bay is the Crystal Bright House, a practical home for Unity and the Big Six. And I like its design, the way it works, because yes, it's a bit unusual. If I saw this driving down the road, I'd be like, But at the same time, I would also be, okay, those are some unusual color choices, but okay. Because, yeah, it looks like something the Earth ponies, or the pony general would build. It fits in the Maretime Bay. And there's almost a story, I feel like, that was untold here that would have been interesting, that it probably was built with the efforts of all the three pony kinds. Like, The bridalwood these trees look like they're from bridalwood. The Zephyr Heights pony, the Pegasi probably donated a lot of the fancy materials on the inside, like the stained glass window, and the Earth ponies probably built it. The two big things that happened to the Crystal Bride house, both of which are from Tell Your Tale, and yeah, we're going to be getting to the mysterious room later, but the other is has it become a casita from Encanto? Because it seems to start to be developing magic powers of its own. Because in multiple episodes of Tell Your Tale, including the Blocky Walkies, it's like I always get those backwards sometimes. Anyway, yeah, it's like, here, dear, I packed you a bag for your epic quest. It's like, I kind of like this. It sort of makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of magic flowing in and around the Crystal Bride house, but when did this happen? It's like, it would have been good for them to have had like an episode or even just a moment where it's just like, oh my gosh, the Crystal Bride house, it has its own magic powers now. But I kind of like this development because, again, it makes sense. It kind of reminds me of a line from Atlantis, the Lost Empire, about their own crystal. It's like, as it grew, it developed a consciousness of its own. And sure, as this magic and the spirit of unity is growing throughout Equestria, it makes sense in some ways that the unity crystal kind of grows and develops its own powers as well. And sort of a minor development that's still kind of interesting is Tantrum Logic is now a TV studio? Not my first choice, but I'm glad that Tantrum Logic is now being used for something because I felt like, this is like devastating for a town like this for this to be shut down. That's like the big factory that's like employing most of the ponies, and now they're unemployed, so that can't be good. But now that they've actually decided to do something and turn it into a TV studio, hopefully those ponies are employed again. So, moving on. The Isle of Scaly / the Dragonlands. A natural home for the dragons because the dragons have always been natural. Because I keep thinking back to that line from when the dragons that wanted to be the Dragon Lord. It's like, if I am Dragon Lord, I will raid Equestria for all their pillows. Why should they be comfortable while we sleep on rocks? It's like, I don't know, because the writers said so. It's like, why do you have to steal our pillows? Can't you just make your own? So yeah, like the dragons, they don't build technology or cities. They literally live out in the wilderness and stuff because I guess they're dragons. In a lot of ways, they don't need to. They can fly. They have firepower. They have free fire and all those things. So it makes sense to send the dragons away to almost like this like jungle island somewhere. But because this place is natural, this place does not like technology, particularly the Bear Street. Because on the pony's arrival to the Isle of Scaly in the Bear Stream, it's like first, its phone goes dead, it's like, oh no, my phone is dead, and she plugs it in. And then it leads to the Bear Stream going what's known as Dead Stick. So in the theme of this particular con, everybody prepare to wave your hands like you're going down a roller coaster because Dead Stick only means total engine power failure. So, but fortunately, they are saved by very large balloons, along with Izzy's equally large lung capacity. So, yeah, so the Isle of Scaly almost has like this anti-technology dampening field bubble around it, because later, when they leave the Isle of Scaly, all of a sudden, oh, my phone, it's working again, yes! So it's not like draining the battery, it's prohibiting it from functioning. So the interesting question for that is sort of like, how and why? Why do that? Because like technology like that didn't even exist when like Twilight created the crystals and all that. It could be a side effect perhaps of the Dragonstone and maybe an effort to protect the Isle of Scaly and keep it natural. So interesting questions. I don't know if they'll ever go down that road, but it'll be interesting to find out if they, why that's happening. And briefly on the dragons and their abilities, that I've been informed this could be controversial, but I actually like these dragon designs. They look more like what we consider dragons to be. It's like it's easy to look at, Spike and you know, like Baby Spike and Sparky, and forget, dragons are big, huge creatures of size and mass, which Figure Mark was very successful at communicating. Because it's like, oh, hello up there. I come in peace. Please don't barbecue me. Yeah, the interesting developments is that the dragons now have unique magic fire, which I never really thought about it much at the time, but you know, it's like, why does he have the ability to like teleport letters and stuff while all the other dragons just have fire? So it appears that now that's changed and they each have their own abilities. Like Fountain can actually breathe, water and spray water with her fire. Wait a minute. Does that mean that she has anti-fire? An interesting choice. So it'll be interesting to see, where they go with all that. And the other big one is they have cutie marks. When did that happen? In the Forge Village stories, it seems like they're similar to the cutie marks, but not exactly, and maybe they operate differently. Maybe they reflect the tribe sparkle rather than individual sparkle. And I think all these things show that these dragons are almost the next generation of dragons in some ways, because they have abilities and things that other dragons do not. Like, Spike does not have a cutie mark, but these dragons do. So, interesting. So, I hope we get to spend more time with the dragons and learn more about them in the future, because we haven't really got to learn very much about them yet. So, anyway, moving on.
So, I'm sorry, another thing.
Oh.
Not gonna lie. So, when Izzy's fixing it, they show that Pip has all of her stuff plugged in. So they're draining the magic, all the magic from the lantern to power her objects.
Yes and no. They just. As a computer programmer, it's like, technical analysis. I feel your pain, Izzy. It's like, it's the rule of programming of, it should work, but it doesn't. Why? And because that's what I think they all think at first, but they describe later is like, even the dragon characters, it's like, it's not the mare stream that's the problem, it's the lantern, the power source that's the problem, because it's actually not functioning. It's like almost a side thing. It's like, I think the lantern itself almost has like, quote unquote, infinite power. That as long as you don't exceed that like power threshold, it'll power things infinitely. So, but it sounds like it's just not functioning, so it can't power anything because of the Eye of Scalia somehow prohibiting it. Okay. So, hopefully, briefly, on Starlight Ridge, a cozy little village that was in a little bit of trouble. And the horns are kind of interesting. They're kind of unicorns with crystals instead of just horns. And fun is their power, along with magic healing snow, which, I can't imagine, this is the place to go learn how to go skiing or snowboarding, because you could be injured and healed at the same time. I don't know if it works that way, but it'd be interesting to see if they we learn more about that in the future. So, the interesting thing with this is that the ponies still don't know where this place is. They can only get it through the Nova Charm. So, that definitely is going to be a problem later on. So, they can't just get on the Maretime and fly there because they don't even know where it is. So, that could be a problem. So yeah, the Nova Charm is like paths to other realms. It's like, what does that mean? Does that mean like other places in Equestria? Does that mean like other worlds? Does that mean like other alternate dimensions and stuff? But definitely more to come on that later. In some ways, a big one. Skyros, the Alicorn land, and definitely Alicorn land confirmed. Roar. Because I once did a video on, I think it was after the crystalling, and they were talking about the alicorns, and I mentioned that in the Journal of the Two Sisters, and I hope Celestia and Luna will forgive me for reading their journal, but it was informative, that they mentioned the alicorns, implying that there's other alicorns out there. I was thinking, what if there's like an alicord city or land that all the alicords come from. And this is basically confirming that. And from these pictures and this tapestry, it appears that it's sort of like flying mountains, kind of almost like Rainbow Falls. And most likely it's definitely remote and hidden away somewhere because despite from a few alicord princesses in Equestria, most of the alicords appear to have kept a low profile, and no pony even knows that they're, almost in some ways out there. So finding it or getting there is probably going to be difficult, and I'm pretty sure the ponies are going to be glad that they have the mare stream, because they're almost certainly going to have to fly there, and we're almost certainly going to be paying a visit there. Particularly because, obviously it's sunny, and also the Star Scout family crest. Interesting. Because it could be representing something else. It could be, because I've always liked to think that in some ways Argyle was almost like this member of one of those like secret societies that was like passing along the, keeping alive the memory of the magic of friendship, because he knows so much about the main six before he can craft figurines of them, or all the other ponies don't even remember that they existed at all. But maybe this represents something else. Maybe it means that Sunny has a more direct connection to the alicords. Maybe she's somehow related to them. So that could be interesting. And yeah, Sunny will be able to learn from other alicords, because just like in Twilight was actually essentially learned how to be a princess from another alicord, and so far Sunny's been doing pretty good, but she hasn't learned anything about being an alicord from an actual alicord yet. And maybe she'll learn more about her alicord powers and things that maybe she doesn't even know, and maybe even just how alicords work, and what is her, like, Twilight had to learn, okay, I'm the Princess of Friendship. What does that mean? Oh, I have to spread the magic of friendship for Equestria. How do I do that? Oh, I have to open up a magic school and teach all the creatures, ponies in and around Equestria about friendship, and they can help spread the magic of friendship. And I feel like Sunny will probably have to go on a similar journey at some point and learn things about being an alicord that she didn't even know she had to learn about. So that will definitely be interesting. And possibly Luna and Celestia could be there as well, because all I'm going to say, the long story short is, if Opaling's here, Celestia and Luna could probably be here too. And I'm sure during like the separation and the crisis and stuff, it's like, I have this vision of being like, retiring is pretty nice, but this is kind of getting boring, and all the ponies have now gone away. Let's go back to Skyros and go back to all the other alicords. So that would be interesting, because again, Sunny would be able to learn from the same princess that taught Twilight. So definitely an interesting development, and looking forward to seeing more. And since this is generally about ponies as well, but also it's like the main six in general was like, as Babylon 5 once said, sort of, no pony here is exactly what they appear. Because these are less, quote-unquote, elements of harmony, which by the way I love, but they're more like real people because they have more than one side to them. Like, Zip is not just brave and interested in flying, she's also interested in the sciences, and she's a detective. She wants to understand for the sake of understanding. Twilight would be so proud. But also that no pony is perfect. They all have problems and things that they have to overcome and deal with, as everyone does. But the good news is that they are learning. And I really like these characters, and I look forward to seeing them more. And of course, the supervillains. So, if you're going to maniacal laugh with me, please be in sync. So, excellent. It's like, yes, openly, briefly, because I will be doing character analysis panel tomorrow on all of these characters. It's like, opening arcana, cunning, intuitive, envious, and I am power! It's actually inner cutie mark almost, in some ways. But yeah, but I like that, even though, yes, she in some ways is the typical, I have come to take over the world! It's more to it than that, because
Oh, those ponies, the alicorns, they didn't give me the respect I deserve. So not only will I defeat them, but I'll show them how strong I am by not only stealing their magic, but every pony's magic and all magic everywhere.
I had a flashback when you said I was like, oh, those ponies, they drive me to drink.
But yes, but the question is, as the defender of Equestria, yay, this could be the end of Oakley. As an analyst, it kind of makes me sad, because it's like, I'm kind of sad the way she went out. But whether this is the end or not is an interesting question, and we'll see what happens in the future. And now Allura and Twitch, a quiet but cunning supervillain. I just love her voice. It's so alluring. So it's like calming but threatening at the same time. It's like, I know I'm intimidating, but you can trust me. But once again, it could be more than she appears, because we don't truly understand why she's doing all these things. Sure, she's done some very bad things, but we have not fully understood those reasons yet. And Allura and Twitch, at first they felt like classic supervillain and minion. It's like, oh, Twitch is going around and just doing these errands and stuff for her. But there could be something more than going on there, because there's this moment in the Blocky Walkies where it's like, Twitch is about to be hit by this giant magical blast. It's like, Twitch, look out! And she leaps over to save him. It's like, she's done more to care about her minion than Oakley did through the entirety of her run. And even how did these two come together? Because she is a snow leopard after all. Why is this little rabbit helping her? It's like, as a snow leopard, she should look at Twitch and the other ponies and be like, you look delicious. So there's definitely a story here that has not been told yet, and I'm looking forward to hearing that story. And they are currently hiding in the cave from the Portrait of a Princess, which makes me sad, because I like that episode. And they're also within sight of the Crystal Bright House, so they may as well just be hiding in a bush next to the Crystal Bright House. So we will definitely be seeing it more in the near future. It's like, we're back! It's like, the Breezies, they kind of look the same, but the good news is I think they've been working out or something, because they're not as frail as they used to be. At one point, Missy's actually having trouble keeping up with them. It's like, wow, these Breezies can really fly. It's like, wow, good for the Breezies. And again, we're actually kind of important to Make Your Mark, because they have this Breezy night market of all these ancient artifacts that have been lost to ponykind for generations, and gave Sunny the locket that helped them defeat Opaline. So, and we also saw them in Swirlpool Starlight. So, it'll be interesting to see, what the Breezy's future is and how often we see them. But good for the Breezies for not being so frail. And the sea ponies, it's like, again, I wonder if these are true sea ponies or just griffins in disguise. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Oh, see, okay, so because I was thinking you were saying true sea ponies are not mer ponies, because there was.
Oh no.
Yeah,
there's enough.
Like,
there's more.
because if they have their forehooves, then they'd really be the sea ponies. But if they're mer ponies, then they're just
about
fish,
that.
right?
Interesting.
But nobody cares about the mice semantics. I thought you maybe did.
I thought, I'd consider that. It's like, I'm a computer programmer, I understand. Details are everything sometimes. But yeah, it's like, are these actual sea ponies, or are they sort of like the descendants of the griffins who decided to stay sea ponies? I think the former, and that these might be actual true sea ponies, but we shall see. And apparently they believe laughter can cure anything, so, interesting. And also they have cutie marks. Apparently cutie marks are no longer a pony thing anymore. And
but also if they didn't lose their magic like the other pony races, then they might have still retained a lot of that knowledge that we haven't seen in the show.
Maybe, it's possible. I haven't considered that. Yeah, like we don't really know what.
Like what happens if a sea pony loses their magic? Did they
know. It's like, I guess they were, I mean, yeah, Friendship is Magic era there. I guess they were kind of separate from the
Hippogriffs?
the ponies. Yeah, they're like hippogriffs. Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, excuse me, hippogriffs. It's been a while. So, yeah, that, again, like, we don't really know what happened to, like, the other creatures, the griffins and all those, the hippogriffs, the griffins and stuff. They just kind of went away. I'm sure they're out there somewhere, but sorry, we don't have the budget for that, so. And it's our channel, we only have 5 minutes, so. And the ponies have a lot of their own problems right now. We can. But anyways, again, they have cutie marks. It's like, really, when did that happen? So, yeah, that might mean that maybe these are true sea ponies or something, but we shall see. But I hope that we get to see Destiny and Izzy back together again, because the last time Destiny sees Izzy, she's being flung through the portal and going, Izzy! Oh, don't worry, not only is Izzy okay, but she's looking forward to seeing you again. So, now, of course, magic. Where the rules have definitely changed since the Friendship is Magic era, because things like the sun and the moon now raise themselves. It's like, when did that happen? And we have this theory that, oh, there's the amulet, or it's like being run somewhere by some sort of like atomic clock somewhere. But, you know, it's like, I kind of like that stuff, but it did mean that all of the ponies were basically in charge of every aspect of their world, including nature, so that was kind of difficult, and not to mention they all lost their magic, so they couldn't do those things anyway. So, and of course, the big development is Earth Pony / Flora magic, and not only that, but each of the Earth Ponies has their own unique abilities. Like Hitch is like the only pony that has the ability to talk to critters. There's that pony that can like grow plants instantly from seeds. So, an interesting development. And the big thing definitely at the beginning of this generation was that all the ponies had to start from 0. Which was a huge problem for them, because there's, you know, it's like they've forgotten what magic is even capable of doing and those sorts of things, and there's no pony for them to teach them. Like, Zip had to fly the bear stream by basically pushing the start button and hope they don't crash. So
she
not.
actually winged it.
Yeah, she winged it. Yeah, like her first landing was terrifying. It's like, any landing that doesn't trash the aircraft and you was a good one. But yeah, so this is almost why Misty has become a student of magic, because it's like some pony has to go out there and actually learn those advanced magic skills. Now that they've kind of passed Magic 101, now they have to move on to more advanced things. And now they only have one cutie mark on one side. Which, I had this vision of my OC being turned into a J5 pony, and you're like, oh, what happened to my cutie mark? No! Oh, it's over there? All right. Okay, that was weird, but all right. I guess this kind of makes sense, because in some ways the cutie mark visually isn't as important. Like in Friendship is Magic, it covers like their whole side. Here it just feels like something that's just sort of like tattooed on. But it's increased in importance by so much. It's almost the symbol of their magic, and when their, you know, when their sparkle shines bright, and their cutie mark glows as well. And still shows, but the good news is, despite all these changes, that friendship is still magic. As A.Y. Pony would say, is that it's not just the subtitle of Friendship is Magic, it's the thing that drives this world, because friendship is literally magic, which leads into the unity crystals, where when the ponies are unified, things are good, and when they're not, things are bad. But exactly how do they work in some ways? They always operate what I like what's known as in electronics as a capacitor. So they're like a magic capacitor, and that a capacitor works by storing up energy. When it's all full, it releases it all at once. So it's like filling up a bucket of water, and when it's full, you dump it all out all at once. And this could explain the glitching that we see in the first chapter of Make Your Mark, where there's not quite that level of unity and magic and stuff that they need, so it doesn't reach the discharge point when it's supposed to. So there's no magic being released, and magic glitches and stops for that moment. But once it reaches that level, it releases it, and magic is back, things are good. And the Prisbeam, an interesting development, which I thought was interesting, was surprising, was powered by cutie marks, specifically the main sixes, because I like the Prisbeam. It kind of represents when you can see the Prisbeam, things are good, and when you can't, things are bad. But it doesn't seem to be generated by something, it's just there. Kind of reminds me of a line from Star Trek where it's like, it's not coming from anywhere, it's just all around us. Yeah, like if the crystal was like at the bottom of the shaft, I could say, oh, it's the crystal doing it, but in some ways it's the cutie marks themselves that are doing that. Because as we see, as each of the main sixes are losing their cutie marks, we see the Prisbeam go off one color at a time. And a big development that we learn from Opaline, that the Unity crystals are conduits. It's like, what does that mean, Opaline? Oh, didn't you read that magical book that I told you to read? Oh. That, yeah, a conduit is basically something that energy flows through, which means, does this mean that they're an element of harmony? Because it took the Matrix 9 seasons to finally realize this, that it's not the elements of harmony themselves. It's not these magical rocks that the power comes from, it's them. Their magic, the magic of their friendship, basically flows in and out through the crystals and unleashes it upon the supervillains and all that sort of thing. And this is in some ways how the Unity crystals operate. That when the ponies are unified, they're, you know, as we see in this episode of Make Your Mark, is that we see it visibly, you know, the ponies working together and stuff, and it's being passed into the crystal and then out through Equestria. So in some ways, these are almost the new elements of harmony. So interesting. And moving up, it's similar to cutie mark magic, where it's like who and what they are now has a magic all of its own. It's like at first it just represents, you know, the thing that makes them special and unique, their special talent, but it's now developed the magic of its own now, where it's like when they're exhibiting whatever that is, it's actually glowing, and it almost in some ways is the thing that their magic kind of comes out of. And I like that the cutie mark magic is the symbol of the magic, not the source, because we've got the magic in us. Because, yeah, again, it took the Matrix a long time for them to realize this, but it's not these magical rocks or any of these things. The magic that their friendship comes from them. Which is why ultimately Opaline loses. It's like she thinks that she can just take the cutie marks and take what makes them special and unique and take away all their power, but she's wrong. Because we are all stronger when we each can make our mark. Which is what ultimately defeats Opaline, is that when the ponies all come together and just simply stand up to Opaline, they are still able to unleash all this magic, and because they are stronger together than they are apart. And another interesting development with cutie mark magic is the cutie mark bonding, I'm going to call it. It's like, what does this mean and how does this work? I mean, it's probably just in some ways just a nice moment to literally show these two characters are bonding and connecting in some sort of special way. But as we see with Izzy's and Destiny's cutie mark, that it resulted in a giant magic explosion which flung Izzy one way and Destiny one way. So does this mean that Pony and Sea Pony cutie marks aren't compatible with each other? Oh, I hope not. Hopefully it means that maybe they created such a connection that was so amazing that it created this giant magic explosion of friendship. But this is an interesting development, and I hope we get to learn more about it in the future. Now, the mysterious room and the spell book, and this room itself was an interesting development. It almost feels like it's an archive of all the generations, not just G4. Because some of these stained glass windows, they kind of look like G1 stuff. It's like, I did, sort of. Unfortunately, when the original series was, I was just a little blue star. So I vaguely remember bits of the G1, but yeah, like the smoothest that looks like the smoosh from like the G1 era, and this picture of Turek kind of looks like he might have done it G1 or something like that. So, but there's definitely G4 things going on. Like there's the defeat of I believe it was Nightmare Moon, Canterlot Wedding. There's also the defeat of Discord, and there was also a thing of the G5 main 5 at the time being united in the Magic Blanket. So interesting. It makes me wonder, is this even in the Crystal Lighthouse? Because Misty can all we got here through a mystical magic portal, so in theory it could be anywhere. And I'm pretty sure they didn't build this place into the Crystal Lighthouse. And it almost operates as a control room for the Crystal Lighthouse because Misty just starts pushing buttons, and all of a sudden all these weird things start happening in the Crystal Lighthouse. So, why and how does that work is definitely interesting. But the biggest development now is that Misty has become the student of magic in some way. That she's not just a student of magic, she's the student of magic. Because, yeah, these ponies are starting from zero. They know nothing even of how magic works, what's even capable of. So now Misty has basically got this spell book where she's going to learn all like the advanced spells and probably teach them to all the other ponies at some point. And I do kind of like, that the door will always be the mysterious voice that just seems to represent magic itself in some ways. It's like the door will always be open. So Misty in some ways has the ability to come and go to this room whenever she wants. And it almost feels like the mysterious voice has given Misty the key almost through her own little cutie mark bonding moment where a page is removed from the book and it kind of folds itself into a butterfly and puts it over her cutie mark. So it almost feels like she's being transferred some sort of power or something to her. So I wonder if this is only specifically to Misty that has the key. And even who or what is the mysterious voice is an interesting thought itself. I guess it's just simply, well, we have to in some ways have some voice almost represent magic, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see if we learn more about it in the future. The locket and the Nova charm. It's like, at first I didn't think the locket was that big of a deal. It's like, oh, wait, is that the fire ruby from, was it Secrets of Our Excess? And I think it is. It's just, it was important so it's Spike and Rarity, but it's just a gem. But of course the key was locket, and locket's open. And it almost feels like a spark of the elements of harmony that helped them defeat Opaline. So it almost feels like this is like the passing of the torch from one generation to another, or the previous generation helping out the current generation to defeat this supervillain, because maybe this supervillain was just too much for just one generation to handle. And it's basically Sunny. It was, in some ways the past generations, but now it's been, in some ways passed on and given to Sunny. So whether this is a one-off thing that was just for Make Your Mark or not, but it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. And the Nova Charm, but the more relevant thing definitely is the Nova Charm, where it's like, can transport you anywhere, it appears. It's like, I played this space game called Elite Dangerous. Again, it's like, forget the friendship drive, I want the Nova Charm. It's like, where's your friendship drive? It's around my neck. You take me anywhere I want, instantaneously. I don't know if that works. I don't know if it works that way, but certainly in the world of Equestria, it's like, Izzy goes on basically a world tour and has this epic quest and is home in time for dinner. So no wonder Allura and Twitch want it. But again, it's the question of when they mean realms, do they mean just places in Equestria or other dimensions or worlds or anything like that? So definitely would be interesting to see where they go with the Nova Charm. And it felt like at first each of the main six were kind of being given their own little talisman, but then of course this happened, the Mortrot, where the Nova Charm is no more. It's been broken into several pieces and given to each of the main six in a lot of ways. So that was definitely a surprising development. And thinking about it some more, it's like we were told that Nova Charm has the ability to open portals and stuff. But here, it's like unleashing, Izzy's creativity to take this dilapidated old abandoned fairground and turn it into this amazing amusement park. And well, again, it's like the Maretime appears to be way more powerful than any pony could have possibly have imagined. So wow. And I do feel like, does this mean Allura and Twitch will be back at some point? Because they saw the Nova Charm and like, oh, that strange unicorn, she has the Nova Charm. But now she's unfortunately very sad. I guess it's like, no, the Nova Charm is no more. We are stranded here forever. Let's go back to the cave and sulk. But obviously the story can't end there, because that would, we just can't end there. It's like, that just means that Allura will go back to the cave and be sad and lonely forever. So they'll probably be back and attempt to steal each of these pieces of the Nova Charm. And also because it appears to almost be powering the board trot, because as each piece kind of goes around each of the stalls, if you will, that they sort of like glow and light up and are fully being powered by them. So it appears that it can do more than just open portals. It sort of unleashed Izzy's creativity and almost unlocked her rainbow power mode, if you will. So, but if it is no more, this is kind of the problem. Is like, does this mean that we can't go back to Starlight Ridge? So, don't comment about this. I'm sorry. I hope you like Maretime Bay, because you're not going anywhere now, because we don't even know where Starlight Ridge is. So, so it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that, or hopefully they actually did take over where Starlight Ridge is. But definitely an interesting development in the board trot, because it's a great place to hang out, but where are we going with this? I mean, it's nice, but there has to be something more to this than just a great place, just a great amusement park. I mean, sure, and it's nice that the Main Six have these places they can sell things from, but there clearly must be something more to this, and I look forward to seeing what that is. Okay. So, overall, that I like the new world of Maretime Bay. I mean, sure, a lot of things have changed, and at first it kind of felt they took the G4 canon and threw it aside. But there's still a lot of the things that made, the Generation 4 so special. There's still a lot of these fantasy elements, and definitely, the magic of friendship is definitely still here, and that's why that I still like these ponies so much, because this world, these ponies, and everything they stand for are still worth defending. Because this is a place where all ponies can come together and use their own special abilities and the things that make them special to make their mark and make this world a better place, not only for themselves, but for every pony. So, again, these ponies and their world and everything they stand for are still worth defending, and I look forward to seeing more. Roar! So, if anyone has any questions, okay, yes?
I have a conspiracy theory about the Cantor logic.
Yes?
I think because Sprout destroyed the the lighthouse.
Yeah, the lighthouse.
I forget what it's called.
Yeah, it was just a lighthouse, I think.
But I think they went bankrupt because they had to pay for a new one to be put in, considering it's his fault.
Yes, I kind of like that theory. It's probably true. That would be fair. And yeah, somebody had to pay for the Crystal White House at some point.
Yep.
You gotta think too, though, also that with all three pony lines being united now, all the products that Phil's making are no longer necessary.
Yep, I was going
Going to be not necessary.
And they never really worked very well anyway.
No. She didn't know.
They're making worthless products that not only did they not work, but nobody even wants these things, so what's the point of trying to make them? Okay. Any other questions? All right, well, I guess that's it then. So as always, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of your SeaquestriaFest.
That was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.